I'm Gab. He's Jules. Gray and crappy skies over West London, I think it's fair to say today. But what a show we have because there's so much going on. Real Madrid stink it up, have to settle for a draw. Bayern go behind at home again.
Yeah.
Napoli, how about that? Winning away, top of Serie A alongside Milan, who get the most absurd of controversial penalties at the end. They don't get the controversial.
Yeah.
But I think it was a correct decision. We'll talk about that. And Barcelona, top of La Liga, ahead of the big game against Atletico Madrid. Also, Liverpool have won again. Who would have thought that? Huh? And Manchester United coming from behind.
Exactly.
And Spurs stink. But yeah, no, that one maybe we could have foreseen that one. But Jules, let's start. Chelsea against Arsenal, London derby. The second in a series of 3 consecutive London derbies. Because Arsenal they don't leave London for like 2 weeks, and before that they had an international break. Like Arteta has been here like a month.
Yeah,
he's not getting his frequent flyer miles. It finishes 1-1. I make the point in my column today that I think both teams, it's one of those things where glass half full, glass half empty. We could have won. We could have done better. Oh, maybe Caicedo should have. But you know what? I think you've got so many positives to take away for both coaches.
Yeah, I agree. Gab, I agree with you completely. I think if you look at it from a Maresca and Chelsea point of view, to play for 50 minutes with 10 men against the best team in the country is not easy, obviously, even when you're at home.
It's not just 10 men. It's not like Pedro Neto's off the pitch. It's your best player.
Yeah, your best player, but you still down to 10. And I thought Chelsea did really, really well with 10 men out of possession. They were outstanding with 11 and with 10. And I have to give credit to Maresca. I just didn't think they would get at that level without the ball, and they did. And they were always a threat in transition because they let the chaos happen even with 10 men, which is quite risky. And for Arteta, in a week where you play Spurs and Bayern, albeit at home, those 2 games, still to finish with Chelsea away and not lose when you go behind, even with 11 men, when you have a bit more pressure because you tend to put a lot of players to push forward and leaving yourself a little bit exposed maybe on counter where Chelsea are very good with a lot of pace. I think he was very happy with the draw too.
Yeah, I'll throw into you're missing both your first choice center backs. In a game like this where I think chemistry is actually important if you're going to play a team that's good in transition. I don't think Hincapié and Mosquera had ever played together, maybe a few minutes.
That's right.
Hadn't started together.
I think it was the second game in 166 games where Arsenal had neither Saliba or Gabriel. 2 in 166.
That speaks volumes. Obviously, Odegaard came in off the bench. And by the way, I thought it showed me that he wanted to win when he brought in Odegaard for Zubimendi in that game against 10 men. He said, you know what, I'm better off going for it here. And of course, without their first and second choice starting center forward. The second choice one is a lot better than the first one, but that's a whole other issue. So I think there's a lot of positives you can take away. Doesn't change the fact that, psychologically, some people will feel, well, we were 6 points clear at the top. Now City have made up a point on us.
Yeah, I think if you...
But those people are foolish, right?
Yeah, I think so. You would take that every day for Arsenal, be 5 points clear at the start of December after having played already away at Liverpool, away at Newcastle, away at Chelsea, away at Manchester United, and having already played as well at home against Spurs and City to be 5 points clear. I think they'll take that. Could it be better? Sure. Could have been worse as well. They had a really tough start of the season in terms of fixtures. And they drove that well. They're unbeaten in the Champions League. The only team unbeaten, 5 wins and 5 in 5 games too. So you take that, or 6 in 6, I can't remember. So you take that completely, considering the injuries that they've had. Saka had been out, Gyökeres had been out, Odegaard has been out, Gabriel is out, Saliba is out. So with all of that, to be 5 points clear with a good goal difference, I think you take it.
Moises Caicedo's red card, correct decision. VAR assisted, yeah?
Yeah, completely. I think he let down himself and the team though on this one. He doesn't need to go there. It's a ball that is received with the back to goal. He doesn't. I mean, he makes the tackle almost facing his own goal, which is completely needless. And I think, as great as he's been so far this season, this was not a good moment.
It's funny because I think Moises Caicedo isn't just one of the best in the world at his position because he's a phenomenal athlete and he's good on the ball. He's also one of the most intelligent players. His decisions are so right. And I thought in a game like this, you need to make a better decision.
Definitely.
In that situation. Fortunately for him, guess who stepped up? Reece James will be
Incredible.
celebrating I'll be celebrating certainly the Chelsea captain on the Gab Juls podcast. Also talking a bit about that, I thought, maybe naughty Piero Hincapié that so upset Maresca. All right, Jules, I want to continue with this Reece James theme because like he's a guy that we've been talking about since he was 12 years old. Some of us who keep an eye on this, right? The phenom. Such a checkered injury record. When he plays, he's usually very good.
Yeah.
Manesca has used him in midfield, and I've long contended that him at right back is a case of, oh, look, I have this guy who's big and strong and fast and a leader and technically gifted. Where can I put him in my team? And I think when he broke into the Chelsea team because he had other central defenders, we saw him there occasionally, but generally like, oh, let's put him at right back. And then the club go inside Malagusto. Is it just insurance for James? Do they see a future for James? We've seen him in midfield a couple times. And again, Maresca, I thought, made, if you want sort of the safer decision, but you're like, hey, look, Arsenal are coming to visit. Cole Palmer's not fit. So I can either play Delap and João Pedro at 10 and then have nobody to come in off the bench other than maybe Tyreek George. Or I can just put an extra midfielder in there, right? And he moves James there again. And the way he stepped up, because I think playing alongside Caicedo and playing alongside Enzo 10 yards deeper with only one guy in front of you, I think those are two completely different skill sets. I think it just goes to show what a phenomenal player and how high his football IQ is.
Yeah, completely. I mean, for me, it was obvious he was going to start in midfield. We talked about it on the FC show on Wednesday night or Thursday night, and we gave the likely 11, the starting 11 for Chelsea, and that was exactly the one that Maresca started because you can't play Enzo with Caicedo in a double pivot against Arsenal. He's not mobile enough. Things will go too fast for him.
Not unless you have a fully fit Palmer who's been proving himself in carrying the team.
I don't think so still either. You need the physicality of James and Caicedo there. Or Lavia, when he will ever play football again, exactly. So that makes sense. However, as good as he's been in that position before, as talented as he is, to play at this level was incredible, especially probably more even at 10 with 10 men, because Enzo then dropped a little bit, obviously, and you played 4-4-1, which is what everybody does. But then he was incredible on his own, pretty much responding to the Zubimendi Rice kind of midfield duo that he had against him. He was really incredible. Won the most duels, hardly lost the ball, won fouls, won yellow cards. Really incredible. I personally, I think even when Palmer comes back, I would bench Enzo for some tough games. Enzo can play as a double pivot with Caicedo against some weaker sides, but against teams like that in the big games in the Champions League, play James and Caicedo, Palmer as a 10, whoever you want as a 9 and whoever you want as two wingers. But that's the way forward for me.
Fortunately for Chelsea, it's not whoever you want. It's Delap or João Pedro, which is a different issue.
But Delap or Pedro and then Garnacho or Gittens, Neto or Estevao, whatever combination you want.
You mentioned these names. Arsenal are by no means a veteran side, but they are a couple years older and they've been together. It's sort of the central core. They're more battle-tested than Chelsea by far. This game turned into a battle, I thought, very early on. We had 3 yellow cards in the first 13 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought all told in terms of, stopping it from boiling over, I thought Taylor did his job well. For Chelsea, though, for a lot of these Chelsea players to play with this tension in that environment, I'm not saying it's new. It's not like Estevao hasn't played in big games, but the guy's 18 years old, right? I think when we talked about the positives take, I think this is a huge confidence boost. Because many of these guys had not been in that situation. With all due respect, João Pedro was at Brighton. His derby was with the Seagulls. The Estevao, as we said, is 18. Garnacho came on here, but was Manchester United as a bit part player. Probably hasn't played in games like this. It is a top of the table derby clash. It gets tasty straight away. And to know that they can come through this, to know that they can go toe to toe with Arsenal, who we were, you know, I'm sure they all watch the show. We crown them the best team in Europe
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
moment.
They still are.
I,
To be fair,
that is a confidence
yeah,
boost.
sure. I mean, I think they're the
And
only
it speaks
team.
to Maresca.
Yeah, completely. They're the only team in the Premier League that can compete with Arsenal in terms of physicality and intensity, and we saw that a bit too much because then Caicedo gets sent off because I think the tension and the feistiness of the game got to him, and he should have known better, as we said earlier. But that's it. That's how they beat PSG in the Club World Cup final, because they were so intense and so good physically and aggressive and in the right way in that final. It was exactly the same yesterday. And yeah, the red card could have cost them. And maybe you can say that on another day, they might not even get the point of the draw. But they're impressive. And I think they've gone a really long way. And I haven't always been a fan of Maresca. But I have to say that I was really impressed yesterday with the ball and without the ball at 11, at 10. It was very, very good. And I think I know he refuses to say that they're in the title race, and I don't really understand why, because they are the second best team in the country, easily. I know they're third in the table now, but they're better than City. They've been better than City for me this season. And when you're even 6 points behind Arsenal, but potentially you could have been 3 points behind today, you're very much in the title race. You're the second best team. You're going to push them all the way. And then you see where you are comes May. But for me, they can definitely win the title.
You mentioned there, Maresca. He doesn't often go and blame refereeing or question referees. He did talk about the referee after the game. We're talking about this off air. Drew a parallel between Caicedo and Bentancur. I don't like it when people bring up other incidents where there's a different referee making a different judgment in a different context. I think everybody and their mother agreed that Bentancur should have been sent off, right? Except maybe Bentancur. Just leave it. We're on the same page with this, yeah?
No, not really. It's just simply in the sense, Gabby, that I think that kind of tackle, studs first on the ankle. We saw one in Ligue 1 in the Monaco PSG game. That was not a red card, and nobody understood why it wasn't. I think those, whether there's a lot of power, not so much power, we keep hearing this, but he didn't put too much power. It doesn't matter.
It's not malicious.
Yeah, that one as well. It's just reckless. This is a red straight away. There's no debate to have.
But why bring up something from another game?
No, just for the consistency. I think his point was more about the consistency, that this should always be a red for Bentancur, for Camara, for Caicedo, for all those kind of guys.
So my issue is, you don't want people to think that it shouldn't have been a red for Caicedo. Because I don't think anybody, certainly not somebody like Maresca, who was a gifted attacking midfielder himself in his day and who preached attacking football. I don't want to see people being allowed to do that. So I say yes to the Caicedo is a red card.
That's what he said as well.
And Bentancur should have been a red card.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Because somebody made a mistake in another game a month ago that only you and Chelsea fans remember. I just don't think that was great from a communications perspective.
Yeah.
And he's generally been pretty good about that. He raised the point about Hincapie too. Now, I think we disagree on this one a little bit. Because he said that, so Hincapie jumps with Chalobah. Hincapie catches him on the elbow, right on the cheekbone. And you can see because he has an obvious mark there.
Yeah.
And he's down a lot.
Yeah.
And he says, well, Taylor told him that there was no elbow. I don't know if it's a miscommunications thing. Maybe Taylor didn't see it. The VAR certainly should have seen it.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to contend that it's not a foul. It's just...
No, it's a foul. It's just the yellow card, I think, is fair. No, red card.
How do we...
Well, I think he jumps because I think he jumps in the air and he makes contact, but I don't think he even sees where Chalobah is. He's always looking at the ball.
He wins the header, though, doesn't he? Hincapie.
Yeah, but that doesn't have any...
Right, but what I'm saying is... This is where I have a problem with the rule as it stands, right? If we're going to say that if he doesn't know where Chalobah is, then we're punishing him for jumping with his arms in an uncoordinated way, right? And that makes it reckless and dangerous. And that's why that's why it's a foul, and that's why it's a yellow card?
No, it's just I think he jumps in. His arms are not in the normal position, so are Chalobah's arms, and then he makes contact with Chalobah. So it's a foul, it's a yellow card because it's
See, to me, there's an inconsistency there because I don't. If his arms are in a normal position and he has no idea where Chalobah is, right?
yeah.
And he doesn't even see Chalobah and he's doing something completely normal, then by that logic, it shouldn't be a foul.
Well, no, because he makes contact with him. So
Right, but he makes contact with somebody he doesn't know is there. So,
Yeah, it
like,
doesn't
for it to be a
matter.
foul, it would need to be dangerous or reckless. And if
I
it's
don't think
dangerous or
so.
reckless,
what? Not all fouls are dangerous and reckless.
no. But
So you can make a foul just by doing anything. Could be a foul. You pass the ball, then you arrive at that point, and I stamp on your foot because I've just passed the ball. I foul you. That's a foul, and
no. But I understand that. But he got a booking for it.
yeah. Because I think
And-
he was on the face, and clearly Chalobah was in pain.
Okay, I don't. I guess this is where I struggle with it. For me, I thought his arm was high.
You thought that was a red card?
I think if you're going to argue that it was a foul, this yellow seems to be like sort of a half measure because either he's blameless and he's jumping normally and he's not doing anything at all that's dangerous in any way, shape, or form.
But then that's
And,
the Gyökeres.
and he wins the header because I'm sorry, in your example, right? If we're going for a tackle and I win the ball first, I get to the ball first, and then you come in behind me and I step on your foot after I've won because he heads the ball before or as the elbow comes out. That's a different situation. I've won the ball and then the contact has happened afterwards. So do you see what I'm saying with this, right?
No, but Gyökeres yellow card is exactly the same. So you want a red card for Gyökeres?
So I think the Gyökeres yellow card is different. And the reason it's different is when Gyökeres goes, so essentially, for those who don't know, and again, I heard some stupid just people talking about the rules. Essentially, if the ball is in the goalkeeper's control, you cannot kick it out of his hands, right?
Yeah.
Now, at the moment that Gyökeres goes for the ball, he has no way of knowing
Yeah.
if Sanchez is going to get to the ball first. He could fumble it, put one hand, whatever, right? And there is no way that he can pull out. And he doesn't do it in a dangerous way as well, because if you look, he's trying to. It's almost like he's trying to hook the slide to avoid, not so much to avoid Sanchez to hook the ball back in, whatever. So for me, that is definitely not a card.
Oh, so it's not yellow. That shouldn't have been given a yellow.
I don't even think that I don't know that it should have been given as a yellow because
He could have broken his ribs. He literally barges into
he could
Sanchez.
have, but it's
So what's the difference with the Chalobah Hincapié one? Because it's exactly the same. Hincapié goes for the ball, Gyökeres goes for the ball. In this case, Sanchez has the ball before Gyökeres, but Gyökeres hits him, gets a yellow, it's a foul.
all right, Jules. When you put it like that, I may need to.
No, I'm
concede this
because
one.
I maybe a red could have been given to Hincapié. Again, I'm not sure that really means to hurt him.
I
don't think Gyökeres means it either.
I would argue that if you're going to give a red to Hincapié, it's because his elbow's where it shouldn't have been.
But neither should
elbow
have
was
been Gyökeres' foot then in that case.
Well, no,
on
because
Sanchez's chest.
Because in that moment, when Gyökeres launches himself into it, Gyökeres has no idea if Sanchez is going to get to the ball.
True, but Chalobah and Hincapié both jump for the ball in the same way. It's exactly the same motion, and you could say exactly the same thing.
But that's what I would question, whether it is the same motion. And I think that's what Maresca was driving at with the elbow. But regardless, do you like this kind of more physical derby, or do you
I think this is the only way you can beat Arsenal anyway. Look at Sunderland, who made it a similar way, and they lost. What the thing is with Arsenal, you can't compete physically for 90 minutes with them. It's difficult. Even Sunderland, one of the most physical team in the league, with Ballard, with Xhaka, with Mukiele, even Isidore, Brobbey, anything one, they still needed a bit of a miracle to get that point at the end because they lost control in the second half because they just could not keep up with the intensity, even in their own stadium. Whereas Chelsea did it with 11 men for the whole of 40-ish minutes, and then with 10 men for the whole of 15 minutes, bar maybe a couple of times on the goal, for example, where Cucurella should defend better. Certainly Fofana on Merino, because Fofana completely forgets where Merino is behind his back. So, but they did so well, and I think to beat them, this is the only way. Bayern tried to do it, could not get near them. And I think this is the only way. And I don't know who will be able.
Physical Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least match it. Because I think being more physical than.
You can't just beat them with technique.
I think it's very difficult.
In the Premier League, outside Europe, but certainly not from what we're seeing now.
No.
From the more technical teams in Europe. Maybe later in the season.
Maybe.
When they get their
But if you think about even the PSG team of second half of last season, that was the best ball playing team in the world. They struggled that time against Arsenal. And those two legs, there was not much in it because that physicality and the power that they have against the very technical midfield, for example, of PSG was difficult. So well done to Chelsea because they were really amazing on that level.
Final point. I shouldn't react to what I hear on television. But so there's the chance at the end where Timber goes up for the header.
Yeah.
Gyökeres is behind him. And I hear all these people say, oh, Timber should just get out of the way, whatever. I think it's very simple. If Gyökeres calls it, and I can only assume he either didn't call it or Timber didn't hear it, then Timber should be going for the header and maybe doing a better job of it. But
yeah, I think even for him, he should have done better because it's
100%,
good header
right?
even for him.
But I just love this idea that like we're so wed to this what you think Timber is just being selfish and like obviously Timber didn't hear it or maybe Gyökeres didn't call for it. You don't know that watching it, right?
So maybe it's hard once you've started going for the ball to then just duck halfway through in the air to let Gyökeres score behind him. Those things go so quickly, and some of the pundits would have been there too and would have known how difficult. It's not that easy. We see those quite often where
the ones who know this should speak up and not let the stupid ones control everything. Brentford next.